Welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Pro podcast, and today we are joined by Mark Wright, who is an entrepreneur, business owner, property investor, and previous Apprentice winner.
That's me.
Yeah? And I've actually known Mark since 2016.
Yeah, you were one of my first clients. When I finished The Apprentice, you got in touch with myself and Mike, who works for me, and you became one of our very first clients, and we've remained friends for a very long time.
Yeah, we've been talking quite a lot already about following each other on Instagram and seeing the journey that we've both kind of been on, I suppose.
Instagram's such a great tool and a bad tool at the same time, because I feel if Instagram wasn't around, it'd force me to check in with you a lot more and catch up more regularly. But because I watch your stories every day, and I feel like I'm keeping in touch with you without keeping in touch with you. So mate, it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too, without a doubt. So let's get a little bit of history. We won't go too much into the sugar unless you want to go into that.
Whatever you want to do.
You know, we haven't necessarily seen each other properly since 2016. So where have you been since starting Climb Online and winning The Apprentice? Yeah. Chuck in as much of that. I'm sure some people will want to hear a little bit about that and bring us up to current day.
Yeah, so I won The Apprentice in 2014.
Yeah.
Climb Online opened on the 5th of January 2015. It's still today is my main company. I own 50%, Alan Sugar owns 50%. We employ 43 people. We're based in Manchester, London and Bristol, and we specialise in digital marketing, generating leads for people through paid media, social media, SEO, building websites. Winning that program was like someone put steroids in my business. The year before The Apprentice, our turnover was 77,000. Year after The Apprentice, 1.9 million. This year we'll just come in under 10 million. So it's becoming a reasonably big business. Our goal, I had my board meeting with Alan Sugar yesterday, we're projecting 10 million, to go to 10 million to 100 million in the next 5 years. So we have huge ambitions. We're doing incredibly well, but as you know, running a business is incredibly stressful, incredibly hard. So we're doing well on that side, and I think one thing that we've done well is we've employed well. We have an incredible management team, we have a great sales team, we have fantastic brand reputation because of the show and the previous PR that we've done, and it's going really well. So that's given me, the money I've made from Climb Online has given me some opportunities to invest in other companies. I own a PR company called Make More Noise in Birmingham. I own a property investment company called Wright Capital. I own a property company called Wright on Property, and I've just started a stem cell company called MenoCare. So the best thing about business, and when it goes well, it gives you an opportunity to go into more businesses, and I'm very honoured and I feel very humbled to have won The Apprentice and won so many awards as an entrepreneur, and it gives me a chance to go and help other entrepreneurs. The companies I'm running now, I don't work in at all. I'm just an investor in. I own over 50% or over in each company. And what I've learnt, and I learnt this from Lord Sugar, is you never invest in a business, you invest in a person. And I've had an investment go wrong and I've had investments go right, and it's all to do with the managing director in a business. And I think if you show me a good business, I'll show you a good manager. And the best advice I can ever give anyone is always invest in a person, because they're the one that's going to be there day to day, and their work ethic, their knowledge of their sector, and their passion is going to determine the success of the business. And I think that's where a lot of people invest incorrectly. Yeah. So to give you an idea, I'm sitting here today and my 5 companies are running successfully, and things are in a good place. And I think what I'm furious about myself, I was saying at the weekend, I held my client event at the Ashes, and I invite all my top customers and suppliers to the Ashes for the day, and I do it every year, or cricket or rugby or whatever it might be. And I said, I just wish I thought this big younger. I've now understood that the key to success is thinking big. And it took me till I was 30 to realize how big you should be thinking to become successful. So I'm furious I didn't learn it earlier, but I'm glad I learned it now. And if I could teach anyone anything right now, it would be that your mind is the only limitation between where you are and where you want to be. And the bigger you think right now is the more successful you're going to be. And so many business owners just are so content being the operational size that they are, when they don't realize they can be 20 times bigger, just like that.
So put some context on that for people then. So when you, perhaps before winning The Apprentice, to the thinking bigger now, what was your big thinking then versus what is your big thinking now?
I used to think that employing one employee was big. And I used to let me put it this way. It's as scary to employ one person as it is 90.
Interesting.
The feeling is the same. Yeah. I get as stressed paying 90 people's wages as I do one. Yeah. And that first step, the first employee I ever hired, I was scared because I was looking at the money, can I afford it, whatever. And it's never as bad as what you think. But you're better off to go out and employ 5 people than go out and employ 1. And you're better off to go and spend £10,000 on Facebook ads than you are to spend 1. And I was holding myself back. You know, my marketing budget this month, I'll spend £70,000 or £80,000 on marketing this month. And this time last year, I was spending £7,000 or £8,000. I've literally 10x'd my budgets in marketing and the way I put myself out there. And the results have been I'm getting 10, 20 times the amount of sales. And I'm furious at myself that I hadn't figured this out. Even being in marketing myself, you know, I was always looking for ROI on everything. I was so strict on everything when actually I needed to really just take some bigger risks. And I'm not saying to people go out and waste money, but I'm saying if you believe in your business and your product, get out there and show as many people as quickly as possible.
Yeah, nice. And that is so true, isn't it? Because even, you know, we're coming into hard times financially, shall we say, and what's the first thing that most companies get rid of? The marketing and the PR. Yeah. And actually, if you're going through hard times, that's the thing you should spend more on, because that's going to create more sales and that overcomes the potential challenges. Yeah. So you said there, so we've got the contrast from first or 1 or 90. Yeah. What would you say should be the first 4 hires that somebody should make then from starting out in a business? Let's look at that point first of all.
It's a fantastic question. I think a good operations manager is essential. Yep. Business systems are critical, and making sure that your departments are set up right, your financial systems are set up right, are really fundamental to a business's success. Secondary is good salespeople. I go and mentor so many people, work with so many people who believe that their industry doesn't need salespeople. That is the biggest myth of all time. Every business needs salespeople, because you can't get to the size of any company that you dream of being without good salespeople. Yep. So I believe your first hire is a good operations person and a good salesperson. And then from there, I always believe that every business needs a good accountant. Yeah. I think if you have a good lawyer and a good accountant, you'll go a long way in business. And that was one of the first things I got taught, and one of the best business lessons I've ever got. That's how I would start. And, I've had a record year of sales this year, but my sales team is as big as they've ever been. They're bigger than they've ever been. And, I kind of, again, give myself a bit of a slap, because I'm always looking at the P&L and looking to cut overheads to increase profits. But at the same time, when you cut employees like salespeople or the marketing budget, the first thing that happens is the turnover dips. So it is that counterbalance of making sure that the chicken and the egg, you need the chickens to get the eggs, and there's no beating around that bush.
Yeah. And I think after you've got operations, sales, accounting, you're going to need marketing next, realistically, Definitely. Once you get into that point. And how do you then start to transition from, at that point in that small size company, you're like I still am to a degree now. Well, actually, no, I've removed myself from that element, but you're very in the business. Yeah. And I think when you get to that kind of 4 or 5 people, you start to work more on the business, as we were talking about before. Yeah. How did you transition your mind from being, this is my day-to-day job, of being on the phone, speaking to people, making the sales, because you get that sales buzz, to then going, actually, I need to take more love for my team creating the sale?
It's a fantastic question, and when you start a business, you hear this phrase, in the business and on the business. Yep. And I don't think anyone really understands what that means till you're running a business. And you cannot be successful, and I've only figured this out maybe in the last 2 years, you can't be truly financially free and financially successful until all you're doing is working on the business. Yep. Because when you're working in the business, you're doing administrational stuff. So you're doing emails, you're answering calls, you're having little mini meetings where you're really not making big decisions. When a company goes to the size where it really allows you to be successful is when you are dominating your market. The decisions you might be making are whether to buy competitors. Yep. You might be employing 10 or 15 people at a time. You might be out speaking at large events. That's what I believe working on the business is. Yep. And I started to do that from about the second to third year of our business. And what allows you to do that is a good management team within your company, employing people that allows you to leave the business and know that things are under control. If you're going on holidays or you're out of the business and you're really stressed, that tells you your management team is not good enough. Right now, when I'm sat here with you, I know everything's running as well now in the office as it will be when I'm there. What is still fundamental is that you've got to go in and check up on things. So every now and then I go in and I give a few people a kicking. I, just will kick off. Yeah. Well,
that's HR.
Yeah. When the camera's off, I'll tell you. No, it's important that my employees don't know when I'm going to walk in to any of my companies. I might just come by and I'll say things like, that's not tidy, fix that up, blah, blah, blah. My job is to keep everyone at 5-star service all the time. And my company is not a digital marketing company. Our job is to service our customers, is to provide 5-star quality service all the time. And I believe that's the same as every business, no matter what sector you're in. Yeah. So I'll listen into calls, I'll take a call myself, and it's important for the staff to know I can do the job. I can do it as good, if not better than them, and then I'm monitoring things, and then I leave again. And that kind of unpredictability is what I revel in, and I think is the best way to move yourself from working in the business to out of the business.
Nice.
And that comes with having a lot of trust for the people that you've put into place, because equally you want to make sure that they're going to maintain the culture and the vision and the mission and the values of the business.
Yeah, and so one thing because I believe that's fundamental. So one thing I do in all my companies is one meeting every Monday for all of them.
Nice.
So where I set the vision, the goals for that week, and I review the previous week. Yeah. So I believe what gets measured gets achieved. Yeah. If you don't have goals in a business and everyone's on the same vision, you can't hit anything. So every Monday, first thing, I address all the employees. And I say, what happened last week, client wins, goals for the next week, what went wrong, what we're working on, and I share the numbers. I have an open P&L in all my companies, so people know the numbers and they know the targets. I think that's the best thing I've implemented in all my companies.
Is actually sharing the numbers with the team.
Sharing the numbers, having everyone on the same goal and vision, and then that way everyone knows where we are. And then if you want to come in and ask me for a pay rise, for example, I say, Gary, you know the numbers. You know that your department isn't achieving at the moment, or it is. So here is your pay rise. And I believe there's no hiding then. So I think the two best things I've done in the company is that kind of open book, but also the Monday morning meeting. And we have a survey done by a HR company of our employees once a year. And last year, the Monday morning meeting was cited as the employee's favorite time of the week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just because you turn up, that's
well, that's it. And I normally charge huge amounts for a talk, and they get it for free every month. No, I've got, and we know the right people now. Yeah. I think I hired 117 people for my first 40 employees. And people have this thing about...
That's roughly a third.
It's a third.
So you kicked out 2/3 roughly. That's interesting. That's a good stat to
pay
attention to.
The one thing I don't understand in business, this might be controversial, so this might not be a popular thing to say. I don't think employee turnover is a bad thing. I believe that every business and every employee should be searching for the right fit.
Yeah, great.
And if someone comes in and they're not the right fit for their career or for the business, them leaving the business is not a bad thing. No. And this whole thing about how many staff do you turn over, or how many people have you fired, or how many people quit, I think is a bit of a nonsense that HR companies really claw onto. I believe that if someone's not right for the job, you're doing them a disservice in their career by keeping them.
Yep.
I believe you've got to fire to grow, and people need to resign for the company to grow and their career to grow. And businesses should not feel sorry for letting someone go that isn't right for their customers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And it makes logical sense as well, because they say you're only as strong as your weakest link. 100%. And equally, if you've got somebody who's a bad apple, then they're going to potentially cause bad apples around them, because they'll bicker and they'll bitch and they'll moan and they'll potentially do all the other things.
One rotten apple can rot the whole tree.
Yeah,
it really can.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point of view as well. So now you've transitioned then.
Yeah.
Now you've transitioned then from being so much in the business, the Monday morning meetings, do you do that around all the businesses that you have?
All of them.
So you visit every single one?
Yep.
So one of the things that I find, particularly because I'm at the stage now where I'm working on the business.
Yep.
So we're going into a bit of personal coaching now from someone who's ahead. So I now find the challenge of feeling like I need to be here, whereas you're saying actually not being here makes it run more efficiently.
Yeah.
But then equally there's that thing of you've now got to start holding yourself to account in relation to the different things that you have to do. And my brain's finding it tough to transition into the different things that I have to do, which aren't, I can pick up the phone and do a mortgage and make X amount of money. I can phone somebody to do life insurance and do that. You know, it's almost you become removed from the day-to-day sales and income of the business.
You feel guilty and you feel a little lazy.
Massively.
Yeah. It's every entrepreneur or business owner has felt what you feel right now. And it's the strangest thing, because you feel by not calling the customer or responding to that email, you feel like a bit lazy. Or because I think a lot of people trick themselves when they're working in the business that being busy is being successful. That is, you couldn't be further from the truth. Being busy doesn't mean you're being successful. Working on the business, creating a bigger brand, getting more leads, a bigger brand presence, and getting your company out there more is the best thing you as the owner can be doing. Not answering a phone call that's coming in about mortgages. That, you know, the teach a man to fish, you know, he eats for a lifetime, or, you know, that sort of thing. That's exactly what working on the business is. When you should never be making a call about mortgages. The only call you should be listening into is one of your salespeople and correcting them and coaching them and training other people, because that's the way your business is going to grow. But I emphasize with you terribly, because I felt literally excruciating pain, because when I started my company, I wrote the contracts, I did all the deals, I managed all the clients, and letting it go was excruciating. I felt lazy, I felt lost, I felt like the business didn't need me. But then I actually realized, if I'm serving my business correctly, if I go out there and get hit by the number 6 bus, if I've done a good job, my company should continue to grow and be successful without me. That's the best sign of a good manager and director. What is a bad sign? People say, oh, I go on holidays, my business falls to bits. That tells me you're a shit manager. That tells me you're a terrible business person. Because if your business can't survive without you, you don't have a business. How could you ever sell it? How could you ever put it public? And how could you ever have a good atmosphere in that place if it's dependent on one person? A business is a team effort, and the better the team function shows you the coach or the manager is better.
Yeah, agreed. And it's the thing I've kind of said to myself is, if I'm on the phone speaking to somebody, actually I'm better off doing a video that's going to generate the phone calls that's going to make the team speak to more people. You know, I'm better off doing the podcast and getting that out to more business owners and doing this kind of stuff. It's just that weird transition from sitting at a desk, being on the phone, making the sales, to actually this is work, because it doesn't feel like work.
Well, I know it doesn't feel like it, but this is still hard. People don't, what we have is a gift to be able to do this. A lot of people can't do this, so you should be very proud of yourself for that. And also, you know, some days I get out of bed, I don't want to do an Instagram story, I don't want to do a post, but my job is to do that, is to create content. And just like answering the phone or doing the contracts, I used to be like, oh, today I'm having a bit of a slack one, and I just push on and do it. Today I'm getting that kind of feeling with Instagram or tweeting or going and doing podcasts, because this is my job now, and the more I can get out there and teach people and help people is helping my company. So look, it's working in a different way. And, you know, I spoke to Grant Cardone, who's one of my good friends, about this, and he said, you know, some days I get up, I don't want to do content, but that's my job for my companies now, and that's our job for our companies now.
And you know, that's reminded me of a story. I came to see you speak when you were doing Climb Online in 2016, and you said about you did a talk in a school, and one of the daughters or one of the little children came up to you and said something about digital marketing doesn't work, or something on that kind of lines, and actually you ended up doing business with her dad, who ran a huge company. Can you remind me of the full story?
Memory's amazing. So basically,
trust me, it's not.
That was amazing. So I do a lot of public speaking, and the reason I do it is, one, I do really enjoy helping people. Two, I generate a lot of business, and I'm not going to lie to you, I get paid a lot of money to do it now. When I first started, I think at my first talk there were 7 people there, and that I think 5 of them didn't want to be there. My last event was my own event. I had 600 people there, sold out. The event before that, I had 1,700 people there, sold out. So I'm getting a bit more of a reputation as a quality public speaker. Before that was the case, before I was selling out rooms, the board of my company came to me and said they thought I was doing too much public speaking and it wasn't justifying any business, and that they disagreed that I should speak at charities and at schools because we don't get paid for it. And I tell my PR team to book at least one charity or school per quarter as a minimum, because that's my way of giving back. We don't charge, and I go and help the Princess Trust or a school.
Nice.
And I still do that, and I do it because I love doing that. And public speaking is one of the joys of my life. I love it. So I go to this school against the direction of the board of directors of my company. And I'm speaking to a group of kids. No one there can use digital marketing, so I really am doing it from the base of my heart. Young girl comes up to me at the end and she says, "Can you do my dad's SEO?" I said, "Well, I can't give my card to children because, I'm in a school. I don't know if that's appropriate. But if your dad wants SEO, he can contact me on LinkedIn." So I never thought about it. I left, went home, whatever. That evening on LinkedIn, the CEO and chairman of Emirates Holidays Imagine Cruising, Robin Della, contacted me. He said, "You're at my daughter's school today. Would you like to come in and do my SEO?" I went in and saw him. He became my biggest client. That deal changed my career, it changed my business, and that all came from doing something good. And the moral of the story, and the why I've really latched on to that, is because I shouldn't have been there speaking against the direction of the school. I couldn't have made any money. I was doing something for good. And I believe the more good you do and the more you give back, the more you do receive. And my life-changing client came from a school of young kids, and Robin, who's the CEO, has become a very good friend of mine. The girl now has grown up and finished school, and she now works for Robin, and life-changing. And I think that so many people are working in their business and worried about how much money they get from every deal, thinking about you do the opposite. You do perfectly. How can I go out and educate people about my sector? How can I give back to my community? And then people are going to see me as the digital marketing man or the mortgaging man. And that's the right way to go about it. And we live in the world where personal branding and reputation is essential to business. And by educating people, by helping people, sometimes you can get more business than you could have ever got through making a cold call.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And that's quite nice as well. It's a good transition to where I kind of think we should go now in relation to how we started working together and where the future of perhaps digital marketing is going. Because most of the people who watch or listen know that from my first 10 years in business was my biggest mistake was not doing any form of marketing. None. I paid for a lead from a third party company, not even my own company. And I knew that if I spent X, I would get Y amount of leads and I'd make Z amount of sales. And it was almost just spreadsheets, easy. The way the leads happened changed and the business changed, and I grew a business I hated because I was almost trapped from having to spend this money to fill the funnel, to get the sales out the back. Then I met yourself and obviously the Apprentice side of things, and we did Google PPC, but then the right hand side went, and then I changed the website, and equally I've been doing the whole personal branding side of things and doing the social media. So social media is now so massively key, and I talk to advisors underneath the Mortgage Pro and other business owners about filling the funnel, being in the mind's eye, producing content, building a lead magnet, having an engaging video that then you retarget with perhaps a lead magnet, driving them onto your email database, because while they're still in social media land, they're not actually yours, is what I've come to realise. 100%. And then just maintaining that long going relationship. How does that differ from the way we do it, which we're picking up leads, not necessarily someone who's ready to speak now, but we're picking them up for a couple of quid. How does that differ in relation to what you do? What other options are potentially available to fill your databases and get your funnels?
It's a very complex question that you've asked, and the answer is that I think both you and I and the people who are pioneering this stuff, let's call it key persons of influence. You have a person in your business that is an influencer, that is someone who is an expert in their field, that instead of doing traditional advertising, going out and doing radio, print, whatever it might be, you write a book, you go on, create a podcast, you go on public speak, and you become really well known for being an expert, and you attract business. I think that is the cheapest way to generate leads. I think it is, you generate the best types of leads. You feel good about what you're doing for your community and your sector, and it's great. It is every person or business owner should be trying to be a person of influence in their sector, because it shows that you care about what you do and it shows you know what you do. Now, what happens if you can't do that? What happens if you don't like public attention? What happens if you have physical or mental or health issues that don't allow you to do that? You need to do traditional forms of advertising. And I believe even you and myself should be doing both. I do. If you listen to global radio, you'll hear my ads all the time. If you go on Google AdWords, SEO, social media, you'll see my ads. I believe in omnipresence. I'm trying to be everywhere by doing everything. Yep. I think you need a split of everything. A business should always be advertising, because if they see the Gary Das book or the Gary Das podcast and go and search for your mortgage companies and you're not on Google, it kind of makes me think twice about using you. If I go and go on your book website and then I get retargeted for some mortgage product, I'm thinking this guy knows exactly what he's doing. So I think you need an element of everything, and you can't do everything. That's the truth. Yep. You need to pick the things that work best for your sector. For example, for me, it's Instagram, it's LinkedIn, it's Google Ads, SEO, and doing some radio. That's what I figured out works for me and my company. Yep. For you, it might be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and something else. But I believe that everyone should write a white paper or a book about what they do, just to prove to themselves they know what they're talking about. Go on someone else's podcast in your sector. It's great fun. And start public speaking. Public speaking is, apparently people are more scared of public speaking than they are dying, which is crazy because I love public speaking more than anything else I do. But I think being able to speaking on stage. So my last talk, I spoke to 600 people. For me, that's like conducting 600 meetings at one time. Yeah. Why would you not do that? I got something like, I think 14 customers off the back of that talk. 14 customers, it's okay. But it's 14 times I would have had to drive around England and do meetings to get those 14 customers. Yeah. So I think, listen, the answer, the long way around your question is you need a balance of someone in your organization, probably the owner being a key person of influence, and you need to be doing traditional advertising that works for your company. That might be flyers, newspaper, online, whatever. And trust me, the amount of money you're spending on marketing, it should be 10 times bigger. And I don't say that as a marketing man. I'm saying that as someone with regret from not being bigger younger. I was too conservative. I was trying to make too much money when I was younger. And if I realized I invested more on marketing, I'd be 20 times richer right now than I am. And that's just the truth. And I'm saying that to try and help young guys, because if you've got a company that you say you're 24, 25, you've just started making profits and you've never made profits before, you're going to want to keep those. You're going to want to go to the pub and be the big bollock businessman. You want to take your girlfriend to Mallorca and have a 5-star hotel. That's cool. But trust me, if you go and get more leads, or you grow your sales team, if you double down on your sales team, you will own the hotel in Mallorca. And I didn't realize that till now.
So they say, what is it 5 to 15% you should be spending of your turnover, you should be spending on marketing?
Definitely, and I'd say it's much closer to the 15.
Would you?
Yeah. Okay. I would say definitely 10. And, it's a rule of thumb that we've always said 10%. The average company in the UK is spending between 3 to 5. They're so low on the scale because, as you said before, a lot of companies see advertising as a luxury. It's not a luxury, it is essential. I think it's just as essential as computers or a phone is advertising. And that's why I picked to be in the industry, because I thought the internet was going to play such a part on the success of businesses. And I have an abundance of leads, but it's because I eat my own dog food. I do what I say. I'm sitting here with you with a podcast. On the way here, on the drive here, I heard my ad on the radio 3 times. Yeah. I was literally smiling all the way here because I want everyone I want to annoy people. I want people to see and hear me everywhere to the point they have to use me. Yeah. And, people always say, why do McDonald's still advertise? Everyone knows about them. But that's why. If you go and ask anyone, anywhere around the world, you ask them if they've heard of McDonald's, every single person you ask, 100 out of 100 people will have heard of it. Yeah. That's how you should be wanting to run your strategy.
Interesting. And it's with marketing now, you're saying about radio.
Yep.
There's no guaranteed return from spending on that radio.
Sure.
So how do you, particularly starting out, or medium-sized firms, you know, size I'm potentially at, where I can go and spend on Facebook, I could spend on Google, I can get people onto my list, and I can spend on email marketing those. I can almost work out an ROI from that over a period of time. But when you're talking about radio, when you're talking about leaflets, newspaper ads, traditional kind of marketing, how do you quantify any of that? Or is it a risk stuff? Is that the secondary?
Any marketing's a risk. All marketing is a risk, even the stuff we do, which is digital. But here's what I did. You've got to do, let's talk about print and radio, let's call it traditional TV as well. It needs to be done at a certain time in your business. So what I did is I went through the channels that work best for me. AdWords, SEO, email, and social media. I max them out. I'm now spending the most I believe I can spend on those channels that gets me an effective ROI. And so for example, my email marketing budget's only $2,500 a month. For my size of company, that's not big, but that's where I figured out I can get the best return. My AdWords budget's $7,000 a month. That's where I figured out I can get the best return. My SEO budget's $2,500 a month. I own an SEO company, so I'm getting everything for cost price. That's probably at a £4,000 retainer to an external client. I'm getting a huge return. Now, what I figured out, I've maxed out my own sector. So now I needed to look for opportunities. I have my own event called ClimbCon. I have a marketing boot camp. I have a podcast. I have all my social media channels popping. I'm maxed out, so I've needed to think of other things. So I went on radio, and the response has been insane. So lucky I did. And it took 2 months to get any sort of value or ROI back, which was a bit scary. I still get scared about spending money on advertising, but I forced myself to do it, and then the results come in. And people always say, how did you get your company to £10 million turnover? Or how do you have so many employees? And it's because I just forced the next move and forced the next move. When I could have stayed and ate the profits for a few months and had a nice dividend, I invested back in advertising.
And just for anyone who's starting out in business who doesn't necessarily know, search engine optimization is SEO. That's where you get up the top of Google. And AdWords is effectively Google AdWords. So you can go onto Google and you can pay to be in the top 3 of the search results. You can pay cost per lead or cost per click. And they're just types of advertising that you spend. I don't know, you get 100 leads, spend £10 and you get 1 lead or something along those kind of lines.
Do you get a lot of leads from your Instagram, your personal Instagram account, people wanting mortgages?
Not necessarily people getting mortgages, but I get a lot of mortgage advisors reaching out, wanting to come into the academy, wanting to ask for business advice, telling me what their favourite podcast episode is. Even better is when they turn around and say, I've listened to this episode and I've implemented this and it's done this for my business. What is greater feeling than that, just from sharing something that I've learned?
I think all small business owners, if they were to pick anyone to emulate, I think in this country it would be you. From watching what you do with your social media, it's perfect. Your personal brand, the way you've established yourself in a niche, it's pretty admirable. You've done an amazing job. I think your content is really engaging. I think that the way you've built it in such a structured way and the value you give is, when I was saying to you before, and I don't bullshit you at all, this is going out. If people say mortgage advisor, I think about you, which is insane, which is fantastic. Because, I own 2 property companies, but you're constantly, in the treadmill in the morning, you're giving mortgage advice, or when you sat there with your family in the evening, you're giving mortgage advice. And I think that you let people into your personal life, and it feels really intimate, but it gives you, the customer or the potential customer, so much trust in you, and it's really cool.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. And I can't take all the credit
because Jack, who's sitting behind the camera, is the person who repurposes everything absolutely everywhere. So I do.
You mentioned Jack on the Stairmaster everything.
So I do the initial bit, but Jack is the one who puts it everywhere. And that's really the method that we've taken, which is why I'm now able to try and show mortgage advisors that they don't need to rely on estate agents. They don't need to rely on introducers or accountants. They can do something to generate their own leads just by sharing themselves. Because I've said it before, you and I could have exactly the same pitch now. We could do the same pitch to the same audience, but we're not going to appeal to exactly this. There'll be people that are overlap, but there'll be someone who will prefer you, someone who will prefer me.
100%.
And that is why I don't mind saying to anybody, you know, in the mortgage space, this is how I've done it and how we've done it, and that's why the academy came about, to try and show them a different way.
I think, and I hope you don't mind me telling people this, but you can correct me if it's wrong as well. 5 years ago when we met, 6 years ago, you weren't this guy you are now.
No.
You didn't have a social media presence. You didn't have an online presence. And you've created a book, a podcast, public speaking profiles, social media profiles, all to help your business. And it's probably fair to say you love it now, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I run into say, oh, but you're great at speaking on stage. I wasn't 10 years ago. I was the worst speaker you've ever seen. The advice I give on the podcast, I've crafted that over years of practice, and it takes time. And I've watched your whole journey go from 0 Instagram followers to the few thousand you have now, and the gains are getting bigger now. But you've worked on it, So I think people create an excuse that say they don't like public speaker, they don't like being public facing, but it's essential, I think.
Yeah.
And in that regard, to put something back to you, it's following you and your journey and seeing you go through the same thing. You're doing it on a much bigger scale, but to me, I always think you need 3 things whenever growing a business, or something that I didn't have for 10 years, from 2006 to 2016.
Yep.
You need people who are ahead of you, that inspire you and push you to take action.
Yep.
You're one of those in my list.
Thank you.
You need people on the same level who are doing the same things that you can bounce ideas off of and get challenges, and you need people behind you that you can help and you can advise, who equally push you along.
Definitely.
So you've got the pull of you and you've got the push of others, because you've got to keep going.
Otherwise they're going to catch up.
I watch your Instagram stories, and I'm an early riser, and you make me seem like, you know, like I sleep in. I'll sometimes get out of bed and you're finishing your workout, and I'm like, holy crap, this guy is on it. And it makes me motivated for my day, that you're already up and at it and whatever. And I think that you are right. And this is, you know, they say the 5 people you surround yourself with. I don't follow many people on social media, because when I watch your story, I want to see you in the gym. If you were out partying and whatever, you're not dragging me anywhere, or you're not pushing me. And that's why I'm really particular about who I follow, who I learn from, what I read, what podcasts I listen to, because I want information that's going to force me to level up constantly. And you're really good at doing that. And the people's, you know, I wouldn't be on this podcast if I didn't think that the people watching and you were giving great advice.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate it. And I saw recently on your Instagram stories, you've had a bit of a massive win. TikTok?
Yes, yeah. So some of the clients that we're working with now are dream clients for me. So TikTok is one of the social media channels which is probably the fastest growing in the world right now. For those that don't know TikTok, if you've got kids, ask your kids. If you've got young daughters do your daughters have phones yet? No, they're still too young, not till they're 10. But if you've got probably, I'd say, a 12 to 14-year-old daughter, they're going to have TikTok. It's one of the fastest growing social media platforms. It's out of China, and it's a video sharing platform similar to Instagram, but it creates really jazzy videos. They're breaking into the UK. They chose us as their European digital marketing partner to boost their platform. Been pretty successful for us. There was in the UK, there was probably 35 tendered for it. We won the tender. We were just externally audited by one of the top companies in the world for a digital marketing process, and we had to submit a campaign. Our campaign ranked the highest by 1 point out of all digital marketing agencies in the world. So we know that what we're producing is a pretty high standard now. We don't take on many little businesses anymore. We've got, so we do Emirates, Made.com, TikTok, these levels of clients now, which is a dream. But this has all come from doing this sort of this sort of stuff. And I think it's very important to shout about your wins. You know, you've heard from my Instagram that I did that, and that then went into the media because this is a big company. You should be, all you need in business is one client. And if you get one client and you tell people about that one client, it'll bring you more clients. And I've always believed that testimonials, video, written, and telling people who you work with, you should be shouting, because I give my clients business. I tell everyone who I work with. I have a lot of networking opportunities, but that gets me more clients. people say, oh, you shouldn't tell people who you work with because then people will go and try and sign them up. But if you're doing a good job and the right thing by your customers, they're not going to leave you. So I'm never ashamed to tell people who I work with and who I do the marketing for.
Yeah, nice. And it's good to see as well, because I saw you at the Ashes with your clients and all of that as well, and putting your Instagram stories around, and it is inspiring to see, because we've been talking about doing stuff for our key clients at the moment. It's like, oh, I'd love to do that. Yeah, it's inspiring from that point of view for me.
Well, I'll give you an example. One of my clients did a really big deal with one of my other clients, and they met at one of my events. And what I want people is, if they're ever questioning spending their marketing budget with me, they think, well, this guy takes me to the rugby once a year, the F1s, the cricket, he has a ClimbCon event, he has a networking event. I want people to feel that working with me is a community. And if you left me, you leave a community. And that's how you gain retention in your service-based business. And you should never be worried about doing too much for your clients, writing books for them, inviting them on your podcast. Yes, every client gets a Christmas present from me. Nice. And it's the little things that I think add up into one big overview for my clients.
And it's cheaper to keep your existing ones than to keep the new ones.
Definitely.
So where's the future of digital marketing going then? Over the next
we are in a crazy space. It's gone berserk in the last... So if we flip back to when we met, there was one space, real space, and it was called Google. We now have multiple spaces. Influencer marketing is huge. Influencer marketing, so you have two types of influencers: a micro influencer, with someone with a following between 5,000 and 100,000, and an influencer, which is 100,000 plus. You have influencer marketing, which has taken off big time. Social media is just, I believe, particularly Facebook marketing, is now at the same level as Google. It's the same essentialness. If that's a word. So Google is essential, Facebook is essential, and then you've got nice little add-ons like influencer, KPI stuff that we do, like podcast, books, speaking, all off the spring of being in the advertising space. I believe the future is video. Video marketing, like creating video content and pushing it out, and is essential. Video client testimonials, video product testimonials, talking about your industry or space and boosting that out there. People don't want to read anymore. People don't want to look at, even infographics have died in the last couple of years. It's all about quick 1-minute videos, quick 30-minute videos, top tips, all of this stuff, and getting that out in front of a new audience, which is the short-term key. Voice search is huge, talking to Siri, Cortana and Alexa, structuring your website in the right way that people can call from it from their voice activation search. And wearable tech, that stuff is blowing up. So I think if you said to me you've got a small marketing budget right now, what should you be doing, spending your money on? I think a videographer. I think someone in your business creating slick video content and pushing it out will get you more business than anything else right now.
Yeah, I can attest to that. For 4 years of doing it.
And you were a pioneer. You hired a video person years before it was a thing to hire a video person. And that's pretty amazing to see that far around the bend. Big companies are only getting onto it now, when it's kind of been essential for the last 12 months at least.
So what's the future of Mark Wright got then, if that's the future?
Oh my God. Well, hopefully a long future. Sometimes the stress, I don't think it's going to get there. But for me, mate, I think when you get good at this stuff, and I'm still learning, I'm still only a baby in business, but I'm learning a lot and I'm learning really quickly. For me, I think anything's possible. I want to start doing really, really big deals. I've never sold a business yet. I would love to sell a business for a large amount of money. I'd like to put a business public, and I'd like to trade internationally. So we're looking at opening up Climb Online in New York and in Sydney, which would be great. But I just think I really want to take things to a huge level now, and I'm having a good time at the moment. So while I'm enjoying it this much, for me, it's just to continue as is. What's the future for Gary Das?
Ooh, there's a question yet to be decided. I've got that balance of, we were talking about before, I've got the balance of 3 young kids, under 7. I don't want to miss the time from them. I've got a team now of 9, soon to be 10, maybe 11. So I'm just taking the slow and steady, consistent growth.
Yep.
I've got a great partnership with Progressive Property.
Yep.
The audio book's coming out soon. So I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done, but making it so that, you know, 2 of my advisors aren't based in this office. So if I can have an advisor in every postcode in the UK, over the years, that's achievable. But I'm not putting a deadline on it because there's the balance of push and pull. But like you, I want to remove myself from this. I want to inspire my industry more. I want to educate the consumer more, specifically around finance and around mortgages. And just really raise the finance industry and the profile of it to a degree.
Definitely. Well, I think you make mortgages sound really easy to understand, and as a property developer, I know it's something that is a very complex thing, and choosing the right mortgage partner for success in property is essential. And I know I come to you first for all my stuff, but it's really important what you're doing, and I think particularly you're very ethical, and you know the inside stuff. You were telling me about the changes in the industry before the podcast started, and it's just that sort of knowledge that I think keeps you doing really well.
And that's the same from an SEO standpoint of view, as well as, you know, all the digital marketing stuff. It's, you know, you guys, I had been burned over 10 years of doing marketing.
Everyone has.
And that was when it was like, Lord Sugar's 50% business owner. That was safeguard for me that Mark Wright's not going to cock this up like the other people. And you didn't, you know, you've excelled and done so well in that side of it as well. And it works in the same way. So
I think it's very important. Thank you, I appreciate it, and hopefully for both of us, you know, the stuff that we're doing and both of our I think we've picked really good industries, which is really important as well. But I think, you know, some advice for anyone who's watching this is to look at your journey and to understand that how important getting yourself out there is. And if you're working in a business, I was watching one of your mentees that works with you, they'd never done a story before or a video before, and they did their first one and you reposted it. Little things like that can really change your business. If you get yourself out there, even if you speak to one new customer like I did, the kid in the school, it can change your business by getting yourself out there. So you should challenge yourself for the next 30 days to do more Instagram stories, to do more Facebook posts, and just see what happens. I don't think you'll be surprised at the success.
Yeah, definitely. And I did put a couple of questions out to my community.
Awesome.
In the mortgage space. And the good thing is I had 6 questions.
That's good.
I pretty much covered them in the conversation.
Great.
So Mark John said, how do you keep your marketing material fresh as opposed to going over the same thing, especially if you're focusing on a niche area?
Yeah, and this is another really good question, and sometimes it faces you, or you feel like you've written about this before, or you've spoken about this before. The key thing I've found to do is you'll be out with your family, out exercising, you'll be out for a meal, and something will pop into your head, a fresh idea. The key is whip your phone out, record a video, or write those notes down right then and there. When you're sitting at your desk and you start to think of more content, you start to think of the old stuff. When the new stuff comes to you, it'll be on holiday, when you're at home on the weekend, you need to just quickly write that down or record it right then and there. And so always watch what's happening in the space. Sign up to Google alerts, look at new things that are happening in the industry, or changes, because that will give you fresh content.
Nice. And I think equally on that side, if you watch Gary Vee, he's pretty much got the same 24 stories on spin. So don't worry about it too much.
Because you'll have new followers dropping in all the time. And people need to hear the same thing, something like 7.4 times for it to sink in, so they won't even remember.
Matt Sibley said, work harder or work smarter?
Both. There's no answer to that. You know,
How do you differentiate?
Working hard, and we touched on this before, sometimes you can just sit there and answer emails, and deleting newsletters all week out of your inbox doesn't mean you're doing anything productive. You need to be working smart by making big decisions, big moves in your business, going out there creating new brands, but also working hard at that. You'll know within yourself when you're cheating the system. If you're going and picking up your dry cleaning instead of going and meeting suppliers for marketing, or listening in and working with your sales team, you're probably not working hard and smart. So it's finding that balance, but that's such a broad thing. I believe that working hard is the actual key to success, and making sure you're doing the right things.
Paul Neal, what drives you?
Oh my God. Well, you know, I don't want to fail. I'm like everyone else. I'm a proud alpha male. What's important to me, you know, success is important to me. I believe that I've got an ability to be successful. So for me, it would be a shame not to use that ability. Just like, you know, when I go to the gym, I nearly kill myself every time because I don't go nearly enough. And when I used to go, so I'm so competitive at everything we do. If we race to that door, I have to win. And that's just who I am as a person. So the thing that drives me is competition, is the want to be successful and to make my parents proud of the things that I've achieved. But it's also deep down knowing I have the ability to be successful. And if I get to the end of my life and I haven't done it, I'll kind of feel ashamed of having been if you can run the 100 meters in 8 seconds and you never do it, you've let yourself down. I can be a really successful business person, so I must do it.
Yeah, love it. Elliot, who's one of my advisors, said, how do you cope with self-doubt, or how have you coped with self-doubt?
Everyone. I think that one of the things that people think that successful people don't have self-doubt or criticism, we have probably more than everyone else, I'd say. And as you get more successful, you have more of it. You feel like you don't deserve it. You feel like, why me? Is it all going to fail? Is it built on a house of cards? It happens. You've probably felt it. I feel it, whatever. The key is having goals and having focus. If you have goals and you have focus and you do work hard and smart, as some of the other questions have covered, you can push through the self-doubt. And self-doubt comes like once a day. And you just park it. You learn to say, no, I do deserve this. I'm working hard. I have goals. I'm pushing in the right direction. I have a good team. I have focus. Go away, self-doubt. And I think it's when you give in to the self-doubt and you listen to it and you bask in it that you start going backwards. And I think getting successful, to touch on one other point, getting successful is easy. Staying successful is really hard because there's always someone in your industry that's coming up. There's always someone that's working hard. There's always someone that's coming after you. And you've got to be prepared to fight like you did on your first day in your 5th or 7th or 10th year.
And I think it's good to keep your habits and your routines. Like, I do the gym every morning to get out of the way, one, but two, it's that mind space. It's that work on your mind, work on your body. It makes it easier to work on the business, I think. And just having that stress relief from the previous day before, and kind of just starting, I find working out in the morning is almost starting every day to a degree with a clean slate.
Amazing.
You know, so it's that whole thing in terms of, you know, how do you get rid of the self-doubt? You go and lift a damn heavy weight and just push your brain.
If I had guns like those, I'd have no self-doubt. That's for damn sure.
I don't know, that's partly, they're here because of self-doubt.
Maybe you're right.
Andy McDonald turned around and said, what do you drive? But I'll answer that because he's got a shit hot black Range Rover Velar outside, and I can answer that one because that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, look, those sorts of questions I used to find really funny. I have nice cars, which I like my cars, and I've got my Range Rover here, which is cool. More expensive. That nothing changes. It just gets more expensive as you get older. But do you know what? Some people say you shouldn't have two nice things, like a really nice watch, a really nice car, whatever. I find when I've had a really tough day, if I go and sit in that car that's out there, I remember why I do the job that I do, and I go, actually, it's not too bad because I get to have this car or have this house or this watch or whatever. So sometimes it's nice to treat yourself with little things that when you get into your car or you walk into the door of your house, you go, do you know what? It's worth having that stress or those tough days.
Yeah, without a doubt. And two final things then. This is the Mortgage Pro podcast. The Pro came about because I believe perseverance leads to results, creates opportunity.
Yes, quite right.
What does Pro mean to you?
I think being an expert. I think experience leads to success, and being an expert leads to success. The people that are making the most money and that you heard of are the top of their field because they're experts. So that being a pro to me means being the top of whatever I'm doing.
Nice. Perfect. And how does everybody get in touch with you? If they want to find Climb online, if they want to follow Mark Wright, which I would recommend everybody does on Insta.
Thank you. Well, listen, there is another guy with the same name as me that's also pretty well known by the name of Mark Wright. If you type in Mark Wright on any social media platform, I generally come up first or second with the Towie Mark Wright, but you will know it's me from the Australian accent, and the content is completely different. I have my shirt on a lot more than him. Or just go to climb-online.co.uk or type in Climb Online to any social media. We'll be there. and we'd love to talk to people about generating more leads for their business.
Nice one, mate. Really appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. I
Really appreciate your kind words as well.
Thank you.
And it's been good to see you.
See you. Let's go to the gym.
Yeah. More like for a burger.
That's it. You're having a burger now. That was awesome.
Thanks, mate. That was really good.